We're ready to start. Good morning, everyone. I'm super excited to be here with you today. We are still missing one of our panelists. I'm trying to do multitasking, which while I help him joining. But welcome to this panel on how to cultivate the sustainability mindset on campus. My name is, okay, just got the password. My name is Susana Santos. I'm a faculty member here at Rowan University, and I'm also a co-director for the Rowan Center for Responsible Leadership. And Rowan University is super excited to be here, also member of the PRME Champion Cycle for 2021. And we are excited to be part of this fifth event. First of all, I want to start with saying a few words about our speakers here today. We have a panel with 5 speakers, and the other speaker just joined.
Uh-oh, Korea is locked up, it looks like.
So looks like Susana just froze, so we'll keep going. Why don't we each take turns to say a few things about ourselves? Oh, here's Susana. Susana, are you back?
Oh, sorry. Hi.
You froze briefly.
I froze. Okay. That's why I said Jordan and I hadn't any answer. Okay. Hopefully my office net is working. Okay. So I was saying that we have with us Jordan Howell. Jordan, say hi to everyone. Jordan is an associate professor of sustainable business. He's also the director of the environmental and sustainability studies, and he's with me, co-director of the Rowan Center for Responsible Leadership, and I'm super excited to working with him always. Jen Maden, good morning, Jen. Thank you for being here. Jen is the assistant dean and director of the graduate studies for our school. Maden had her work in many years in the financial accounting and also over 20 years of experience in higher education leadership. Also from our school, we have the Dilip Mirchandani. Hi Dilip, say good morning to everyone. He's a full professor of management, teaches courses in international business, and his research are in areas of also in this space. We also have Ted Howell. Ted, say hi to everyone. Ted is a lecturer in the Writing Arts department, where he teaches writing courses for business and engineering majors. And he's also involved in many other things, as for example, he's a faculty fellow with the Rowan's Cultivating the environmental humanities team, and his experience is amazing. Here, Yannick. Yannick, say hi to everyone. Yannick is an assistant professor of sports communication and media, where he is driving many different initiatives to have a big impact, and he's also doing social impact for the university newly launched Center for Sports Communication and Social Impact. So welcome again, everyone. Welcome to our panelists. I'm happy that we have everyone here with us. I'm also curious a little bit about your audience. So I want to know a little bit about us. We have about 47 people here. So can everyone write in the chat their city and location? I know that we have some people from Philippines and and other places. But if you want to write in the chat city, location, and also your main area of work. So we are here with a panel with people from different areas. So also wanting to know that what are, okay, Joel from HRM, our colleague, UK, Manchester, nice. Environmental law specialist from North Carolina. It's Melbourne. Oh, wow, that's such a mix people. So good morning once again, welcome. So I'm super excited to see so many different people from many different areas. So let me tell you how this panel is going to work. First, we'll start with a round of questions to our panelists, and they're going to answer to those questions for about half an hour, not much more. And then we'll open the floor for questions from all of you. So please feel free to add questions to the chat as we engaged, okay, in this panel, and I'll be and we developed this sustainability mindset in different areas of the campus. So my first question would be, so what is this about? What is this sustainability mindset to you? What does it mean in your field? So maybe Jen, are you willing to?
Sure, I'm happy to start, and I think I'm probably a good person to start with because my definition is probably the most broad agnostic of all, and the rest of our panelists I think are more specialized and expert. Now, what my main thing when I'm looking at sustainability for professional purposes, I manage an MBA program. So my interest in it and my view on it is seeking to add content to the program and experiences to the program for our students so that they can explore different areas across industries. It doesn't matter what kind of industry that they want to go into, because sustainability is important across industries. And for them to start understanding that when it comes to the type of impact that sustainability can have, social, economic, environmental, health, that it's an ecosystem and they all impact each other and relate to one another, and you can focus on one and that can become your area of expertise, but they all actually impact and relate to each other. So if students are interested in having some type of positive social impact, understanding understanding sustainability and then marrying that understanding of sustainability with all the business skills that they're going to learn in an MBA program, all of the common things that everyone would ever expect. They're going to learn about, accounting and finance and marketing and management, and putting that energy towards thinking about how can they make a positive social impact in all of those areas.
That's great. Thank you, Jen. Jordan, you want to add yours too?
Yeah, sure. So I run Rowan's environmental and sustainability studies programs, which is great. We have a very vibrant core of students, but in a lot of ways with a program like that, you're kind of preaching to the converted already. You have students who found a program that they were interested in topically and they wanted to pursue, but they were already interested in sustainability to begin with. So for me, one of the things is trying to figure out how do we kind of expand the understanding of sustainability in order to capture more students. And from my perspective, like many others, this kind of triple bottom line idea of people, planet, and profit as one of the most effective ways of understanding sustainability is really important. But in going that route, as opposed to just focusing on the kind of environmental aspects of it, we can really help students and frankly other faculty recognize that sustainability is more than just environment. It has to be more than just environment, and that there's different skill sets that are associated with accomplishing any type of sustainability goal. So that's difficult, but I think it's necessary to actually get kind of a meaningful program or set of programs. And I think we're doing some interesting things here at Rowan to try to help accomplish that kind of interdisciplinary goal of sustainability across different departments and colleges. So I'll leave it there for now.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Jordan. What about to you, Yannick? What's your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start with kind of my own definition and then how it's been conceptualized in my discipline. So my primary disciplines are sport communication and sport management. That's where my education is in. That's where I teach in sports communication specifically. And within that, I look a lot at diversity and inclusion issues within sports. So my conceptualization personally of a sustainability mindset comes from a perspective of equity, diversity, and inclusion, and how does sport ecology, sport sustainability intersect with global inequities, global inequalities. So that's kind of my personal approach to the topic. Within sports communication and sport management, the sustainability mindset has been conceptualized through two kind of key assumptions. That first assumption is that there is an inherent connection between sport and the environment. There's kind of this taken for granted relationship between sport occurring in a natural environment. And we see that because some sports developed out of the social ecological connections in their place of origin, like ice hockey in Canada, for example. The other assumption, and that really speaks to my work, is that sport can be a very visible change agent in societies generally, specifically in American society, to drive change. And for me, I look a lot at social change, social justice, racial justice change, but that can also be in the same vein of environmental change, like a more sustainable mindset for sport managers. So I look a lot at things like sport ecology, which is a pretty new subdiscipline within the study of sports. So looking at mega events and their impact on the environment, looking at what are sports organizations doing to drive sustainability. Again, looking at how sport and sustainability intersects with global inequities, global inequalities. That are some of the ways of how that sustainability mindset has been conceptualized specifically in sport.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yannick, what about you, Ed? What can you add to this?
Yeah, sure. So in my discipline, I'm a professor of writing, I teach writing a lot and also like communication related to that. So we always, of course, are focusing on this big issue of needing to communicate sustainability issues, which are often like really complex things like climate change, environmental policy, extinction. So it's really essential that people know how to talk clearly and compellingly to a whole range of audience of very different backgrounds and perspectives. So these, it's really interesting for me to think about how you can communicate in a way that showcases the knowledge that you have and also like to put it into different stories, right? So in addition to just these basic levels that we talk about all the time, like the need to communicate things of like climate change, issues that are related to sustainability that are very complex and have all these moving parts, I think it's also really important that we analyze and think critically about stories and narratives, right? So we think about what sort of stories we put on issues of sustainability and how the stories that we tell either about these facts or even in spite of these things that are scientific facts and like things that you can measure with data and analytics, right? The stories that we tell about them are just as powerful as the data. So it's in my discipline, we talk a lot about how we need more and better and different sustainability stories for different audiences and time periods and genres and platforms, all of those types of things.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Ted. Dilip, do you want to add a few ideas also? And I should highlight how honored I am that you are all here, because we have here 4 different areas. So this is a mix. I'm super excited. Dilip. Dilip, you are muted. That's the most heard sentence in 2020.
Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good evening for our global colleagues. So a little bit of history here. We have been involved with PRME from the very beginning. 2008 is when we joined PRME as an original signatory. And the title is Sustainability Mindsets Across Campus. And that begs the question, there are many mindsets on campus because there are many audiences. And over the last decade plus, I've come to realize that really the most important audience from my point of view are the students, because they're going to be the change agents going out. And so I have really focused along with colleagues over the years, some of whom have retired by now and so on. It's been a long journey on freshmen, because if you catch them early, that's our best chance at engaging them in this topic. And of course, we can talk more about later on many mixed successes along that journey. And also a little bit of connection. Ted Howell is in writing arts, and we were delighted about 20 years ago when we realized we needed a writing course in management for management majors. And so we created a course called Writing as Managers. And that has been in place for a long time and has more recently pivoted toward the SDGs and sustainability topics within the framework of developing the writing skills. And so we're grateful for that too. So.
Great, thank you. Okay, I'm excited to see some questions already in the chat. I'm super excited to go there quickly. But first of all, I want to ask another question, just shifting a bit to the how, right? So how can we expose students and faculty to this mindset? How can we really develop this sustainability mindset among them? Jordan, I know that you and have been working on this space, so maybe you can have any ideas on this.
Sure, I can go first. Yeah, I'll go first with that. So like with Jordan and some others, I've been a faculty fellow. There's like kind of two different interdisciplinary groups that we've had on campus over these last 3 or 4 years. One is called Cultivating the Environmental Humanities. Another is through the Rowan Center for Responsible Leadership, which has been mentioned a couple times already. So in that environmental humanities group, it was really great because we had faculty from across different departments like communication, biology, philosophy, geography, engineering. And we held some symposiums where we invited speakers to come in. And then we also met periodically to have these types of communications between different faculty members who very rarely have a chance to collaborate. And we actually developed different teaching modules that we shared both with our wider campus and also with anyone who wants to pick them up. They're publicly available. These are modules that are designed to teach different sustainability and environmental issues in classes. So like any professor could like pick up this module that we created. It comes with slideshows and curriculum ideas and assignments and tests and all kinds of ways of assessing that they can grab and go, right? So that was one thing, sort of like packaging these teaching modules. So that teaching when collaborating with some of those faculty really helped me, over in my writing program, collaborate with other faculty, for example, in the Geography, Planning, and Sustainability department that we have here at Rowan. I co-wrote some modules with them and we did some community planning meetings around these issues. So that also has kind of inspired me on my side to come up with these different types of curriculum projects, like new ways for students to enter into these questions about environment and sustainability. So like a course that's about environmental writing that's open to all students of all majors. In our honors program now, we have what's called a sophomore year experience, which is focused on sustainability. We have certificate programs, and then also like now we have a new major, which is about health and science communication. So there's a lot of this sort of curriculum development, which is designed for a wide range of students to get them all kinds of different entry points into these sustainability issues.
Awesome, thank you, Ted. Jordan, you want to add what other things you have been doing also?
Yeah, I do. I think some of it is like this problem of like how do you get people to have a more integrated curriculum? And the kind of easy answer, but I think also the best answer, is that you just make it. You have to make these things exist, and then you can kind of find ways of putting people in them, and students will find them and promoting it with students. And Ted mentioned an interdisciplinary program that we created that was focused on environmental humanities, where we literally have faculty from environmental areas and then humanities scholars like Ted from writing, but also folks from history, English, other kind of humanities disciplines, philosophy. And we made a program and populated it with classes, and poof, it exists. And so now we have this thing and we're bringing people together. And in some of that context, we also kind of collaboratively pursued some external funding to create the fellowship groups that Ted was talking about. We incentivized faculty with some cash money and also other incentives to actually like sit down and do these things. We didn't want to create a situation where we're asking faculty to do more work for free, even though it may be something that they're passionate about. Finding ways of actually, you know, incentivizing this work, I think, was really important. But Ted mentioned the environmental humanities program that we created, which reaches across colleges. We did some other things too. For instance, we created a certificate in environmental politics, or excuse me, environmental policy and economics that kind of did the same thing, but in a different direction with the social sciences. I think most directly for integrating, you know, sustainability thinking with colleges of business, we took the same approach to create a joint degree program that combines the environmental studies degree with an MBA. So students are at our institution for 5 years total. They get this undergraduate degree, a Bachelor of Arts in Environmental Studies. Essentially, they finish a minor in business administration and then start taking MBA classes in their senior year. And you know, I think that that's been beneficial. We've only had it for about a year at this point. It has attracted quite a few students, people who, you know, were business students, but maybe not too excited about being a business student. They saw it as a career path. Really, they cared about the environment, but didn't know how that could translate into a job. Well, so we've created a program for this, you know, hidden population of students who are interested in the environment or worried about it, as many of them are. That also kind of combines with the great professional skills you get in a business program, like Jen mentioned earlier. So I think, you know, we can kind of, as faculty, wring our hands endlessly about whether we should create a program or create new curriculum. And then there's plenty of reasons why that never gets done. If you actually go and make the thing and make it a reality that you can point to students and their parents and families as saying, this is something you can do here, then you're kind of willing this interdisciplinary sustainability mindset into existence. And so you have to find the right people to do that. And that can be a challenge, but I think that's one of the most direct routes for getting there. The other thing I'll mention before I'll stop talking is Susana and I direct the Center for Responsible Leadership on our campus, which, you know, I think it's important. Our departments are great, but you have to have these kind of third spaces that focus on a specific topic or problem or idea if you really would like to have some kind of interdisciplinary traction around addressing those things at your institution. And so we've created this non-departmental thing that has speakers, it has events for students, it has programs for faculty, mostly trying to bring people together into conversations, like Ted said, who otherwise might not actually get together. So bringing people to campus that we wouldn't otherwise have an excuse to do, putting faculty in conversation with one another. And I mention all of that because, you know, thinking about cultivating a sustainability mindset, as I said before, it's not just one thing. It can't be just environment. It can't be just kind of social concern. It has to be all of these things together. Sustainability is inherently interdisciplinary. And so you have to forge these things where you're bringing different people together in order to actually accomplish some type of sustainability outcome. And then, you know, it does translate to students. We show them that this is a far-reaching project that requires lots of different skill sets. And look, we have faculty at our institution with, you know, seemingly mismatched backgrounds, but they're all working on sustainability together. So it has to come together in those ways, you know, kind of willing things into existence sometimes.
Great, thank you, Jordan. That was excellent, and also very relevant to my next question, which is, so can you give us some perspective on what is the experience here in the business? What type of pedagogical methods can we use as effective for developing this mindset? What's your idea, Dilip, on this? Again, you are muted.
Let's start the story at the beginning. Like I said previously, we've been struggling with how to do this starting more than a decade ago. And we are very happy we have the Rowan Center for Responsible Leadership now, because it was an informal group of faculty for about, you know, almost 10 years before we created the center in 2017. And now we have dedicated more resources and some passionate people to it, which is a big step forward. We have a Rowan seminar for freshmen. We call it a seminar class, and we have a small size, about 20 people. And we have had that for a long time. And so we got faculty, and we run seminars across all the departments. So it was a common Rowan seminar experience. It was taught by many different people across all the departments. And starting back with Dr. Billing, I'd say about 7 years ago, we created these modules, which basically the aim of the module was to introduce students to sustainability concepts, right? This was even before SDGs existed. At that time, it was the MDGs, the Millennium Development Goals, as you know, are the precursor to the SDGs. And so we started on that journey. And initially, we found that there wasn't much awareness. So the first step is, how do you make them aware? How do you start getting them to wrap their minds around these large problems and challenges? And that went on for a while. And then the SDGs came along. And the SDGs were useful because they provided sort of an overarching framework and vocabulary for us to discuss this. It sort of became a little bit more structured, if you will, than it being more diffuse. And I think we had some good success. I think Gerard asked a good question. How do you assess mindset shifts? I wouldn't go as far as mindset, because with freshmen, we are still talking about creating awareness, right? And interesting. So we've done a number of pre and post surveys at the beginning of the freshman class, at the end of the freshman class. We did that for many years. We've presented a number of papers at the EAM conferences over the last, I don't know, 5-7 years. And so that went along for a while. Now it's a freshman class, you know, and what is the follow-up? Now, fortunately, now we have the follow-up where all the management majors, now that's a subset of the total undergraduate population, do take writing as managers. And so that exposure continues in how do you communicate this in the writing as managers class. So that's a little bit better. But I can't say that we have a good tracking of them going all the way through as seniors. So what is their mindset when they graduate with a bachelor's degree? I don't know. I am very impressed and a little bit envious of what NYU reported yesterday at Stern School, where they have these writing intensive modules every year through 4 years. And they really take it seriously. And of course, they've devoted a lot of resources to it. So something like that, which is much more consistent and focused throughout the program, would be great. We're not there yet. And I think ultimately, from my point of view, mindset would be, you know, what are these students doing going forward as alum? And I don't think we have a good fix on that. And I'd love to hear later on what other universities are doing in this regard. So.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dilip. Let's go back a bit to you, Yannick. And I know that you work a lot on this space, that on sports communication also adds other angles. So can you share a bit with us what have you been doing on this area, and how have you been working on this mindset as well?
Yeah, let's talk some more sports. That's kind of my role in all these panels. I love it. No, but I want to kind of provide a little bit more context about the program I am teaching in at Rowan, which is the sports communication program. I think one of the key things that keeps coming up in this panel, and Jordan put it very well, is that sustainability work is inherently interdisciplinary. And one of the things we have at Rowan is our sports communication and media program, which is interdisciplinary in nature. So for me, I've only been at Rowan for about 1.5 years now. So coming in, I really saw that that was kind of one of our strengths, and that my college and my program was really open to creating connections across campus, which I think is really important for these conversations that we are having. There is some institutional power that comes with our program, just as being the fastest growing major at our university, that just gives us some leverage to create new programs, to create new programs focused on sports specifically. I'm not sure about the universities of our audience members, but at Rowan, any sports program has kind of just skyrocketed and really been taken up by students. So with my focus and my research being on equity issues and diversity and inclusion, I focus a lot on the things that are wrong with the sports industry. And while I acknowledge that, you know, sport can be a very powerful platform to drive change when it comes to sustainability, when it comes to climate action, the industry at large is very far behind compared to other industries. So one of the first things I noticed when I came to Rowan is that there wasn't really a lot of curriculum looking at sport and its impact in communities, its impact on social issues. So that was kind of my role, creating those courses. And one of the first things I did was actually connect with Susana and another friend in history who had some research interests in sport and global sport specifically. And we are currently in the process of, well, we're hoping to develop an interdisciplinary minor focused on sports, community impact, and civic leadership that looks at, broadly speaking, sports impact on the communities it exists in, including looking at that impact on climate action, on the environment, on sustainability. So we just submitted the grant to the NEH. We're hoping to get it funded. If we don't, it's still going to happen because I think all of us are really passionate about this. We have colleagues on this minor from comm studies, which is where I'm housed in, business, which is where Susana's in. We got some folks from history, health, exercise science, anthropology, sociology. So it's a really, really awesome group approaching the study of sport and its impact on communities from very different angles. So as part of this program, we are proposing a series of new courses, one that I'll be teaching on sport and social impact that will have a section on sustainability. We have a whole capstone course that works with a community partner in the city of Camden. I'll talk about that in a second, that has a sustainability element. One of our faculty members on the project is in health and exercise science, teaching a facility management class. So she'll be redesigning that class to focus more on facility management and considerations on community impact. One of the classes I'm already teaching is I'm teaching a global sport class every spring that has a final assignment that asks students to create bids for Olympic and Paralympic Games. And one of the things they have to look at is the environmental impact of hosting those games in the city they've been assigned. So those are some of the things that I've been doing in the classroom, I just saw the one question, in the classroom, in the curriculum. The one thing before I get to James's question is I'm really excited for this program we are creating. We were able to identify some community partners, and I think that's very important when we start thinking about changing mindsets and fostering mindsets, sustainability mindsets, is how can we integrate the communities that we are in or that are close to our schools. So we have been able to partner with Urban Promise and Urban Trackers in the city of Camden, New Jersey. They have a program called Boatworks and River Guides, which utilizes the environment to teach life skills to racially and socially minoritized populations. So they do things like river expeditions, excursions. They argue before city government to increase environmental protections. And when I say sport, they focus more on physical activity, going canoeing, stuff like that, but that counts as sport in the way we conceptualize it. So really cool program. Again, just want to highlight the importance of community partnerships, experiential learning, and the combination of those two to developing a sustainability mindsets. The one thing we do not have yet is a class focused specifically on sustainability in sports, so that's definitely on my list. But I do think it's important, as we've mentioned before, to not just have that be one class, like that has to be implemented across the curriculum, across the classes, across colleges, to really foster that mindset. I'm gonna close by addressing James's question, why I focus on everything that's wrong in sport. Just because I am, in addition to being a scholar, I'm also working with sports organizations on social justice initiatives, and there's just so much work to be done. Again, my work I focus on the negative, but it comes from a place of optimism and wanting to think that we can change those issues. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So we're going to be opening for questions very soon, so make sure you keep adding those to the chat. But before that, I really want to talk a little bit about impact and what's the impact on the real world. So Jen, I think this is a perfect question for you. I'm thinking about all the methods that we can use to get our students ready better to use their sustainability mindset in the job. So how can we do this? How can we get our students ready to these future jobs where they're going to be using this mindset? can you share your experience and all your work on this space?
Sure. I've been at Rowan for not quite 2.5 years. And one of the big projects that I've been working on since I joined is to refresh the MBA curriculum. So when we back up and we think about the MBA curriculum and how we wanted to refresh, lots of research from many different directions, but one area that we made sure that we focused on is sustainability. And what does sustainability mean in the greater Philadelphia region, since that's generally where our students are coming from and going to when it comes to employment, the broad majority of them. So we did quite a few interviews with experts that had some type of responsibility for, say, sustainability, from mid-career through C-level in the greater Philadelphia area. Jordan joined me for quite a few of these because while my main focus was the MBA, we also wanted to make sure that this information was going to influence the 4+1 program between sustainability and the MBA, which is relatively new. So across all of these conversations, and people from different industries, very different roles, some of them really had some true sustainability expertise, especially if I'm thinking about some of the people with roles that had to do with hospital management, pharmaceutical, some with materials, if you think about large scale material buying, shipping, and those types of things. Some people were on the side of more PR and marketing and communications. The one thing that came that stood above everything else to me, the common theme that we kept hearing from everyone, is that it's really important and valuable for students, if they're coming out with an MBA and they're seeking a position that would be appropriate for someone with an MBA, is that they also need to have functional expertise. They can't just have sustainability expertise. They have to have some expertise in another functional area. And it gets back to that point that we're all talking about, it being interdisciplinary. Sustainability isn't just a thing by itself. It has to be paired with other functional expertise for somebody to be able to have a job and have impact. Again, we're talking about someone who's coming out of a graduate level program. So that was one really important thing that then we're thinking about when we're refreshing the MBA and when we were refining the 4+1 program. We also wanted to make sure that in our region, we were preparing students for the kinds of jobs that existed out there. And those conversations really helped us as we were thinking about the MBA refresh. We're hoping to launch the revised curriculum this coming academic year. Part of what we're doing is increasing the flexibility so students can tailor the study a little bit more to what it is that they're interested in. We will be building a sustainability area of concentration that students can either select from and make it a specialty area, or they can just choose a class or two if they would like to dabble a little bit. There is going to be one required course in the curriculum that does focus on responsible leadership. And as part of that, there's the focus of people, planet, profit. So there's a small amount of it that is a required component of the MBA, but we're building additional content that will be optional, but we do expect it to be popular and interesting, and we will definitely be promoting it and encouraging students to take at least one of those classes, if not more than one. And then another new initiative that we're just now launching is a fellowship in innovation and impact. So that's for MBA candidates, new students coming in, and it is there is scholarship money that's available for the selected recipients. There's also a lot of built-in mentorship that we're planning. So we're really excited to note that we just awarded our very first fellowship in innovation and impact for the MBA program. In addition to a few other interviews and all of the material that the candidate submitted, she also interviewed with Susana and Jordan because we want to make sure that she's going to be active with the center. And I think that her background is really interesting and gives another good illustration of this interdisciplinary focus. Her background and her expertise is actually in financial regulations. And her main focus of where she seeks to make an impact is social equity and inclusion when it comes to finance. So she already has about 5 years of expertise in that area. She works for an organization where she's actively monitoring what's happening in the finance industry, and are organizations doing what they should, essentially, is the short version of it. She'll further hone that business expertise when she's in the MBA, but she wants to use all these experiences also to think about those specific areas of sustainability when it comes to social equity and inclusion. And we're really excited about working with her on this. And I look forward to seeing more students coming in through this fellowship, because we do plan to award new fellowships. And it gives us an opportunity, if we think about it from the program management side of things, it gives us an opportunity to tell stories, right? I saw this coming in the chat earlier as well. We'll be able to tell stories about what our new MBA fellow wants to do, the achievements that she starts to make. It's going to help us educate more of our students, maybe inspire some of our faculty who aren't deeply involved yet with sustainability. And hopefully it'll allow us to start to attract more students into the MBA who have these kinds of goals and interests in as well. And it'll help them see a pathway that maybe right now is not even fully on their radar. And that's what happened with this candidate as well. She wanted to do all of these things. When she learned about the fellowship, it really helped her crystallize her goals and exactly what it is that she wanted to do.
Great, thank you, Jen. And I must say that you have been doing awesome. So thank you for everything you have been doing to have this coming to us. So I'm super excited for this fellowship as well. So we're going to be opening the floor for questions from the audience. Thank you for being so active in our chat. I was looking for some questions, so I'm sorry if I missed something, but I would like to go a little bit back to a question from Jared, who is asking, how do you assess this mindset shifts or changes? And personally, I think that's a very key question. I'm always worried about that. And every time I hear from anyone I had in my classes later, some years further, saying that they were able to do something aligned with this mindset that we are teaching, I always get super happy. But I think that's only me. So I would like to ask the question for you all. How do we assess these mindset shifts and changes? Who wants to give a quick answer before we move to the other one?
So I think since we have barely 15 minutes left, I would like to, so you heard a little bit about what we do. Mindset shift is a very hard thing to measure. I don't believe we are measuring it currently, at least not in any systematic way. But I would love to hear from you folks out there, many of you, 55 of you, as to what you're doing, because you notice we didn't have any PowerPoint. This is designed to be a dialogue so that you can be part of this conversation. So feel free to unmute your mics and jump right in and share with us what your successes have been with respect to changing mindsets or building a new worldview among students, among faculty, among others.
Yes, okay, that's a excellent idea, and you are all happy to. You are all welcome to talk and to share your ideas. Does anyone wants to start that, or?
Hi.
Hi.
So I'm actually not what's the word? I'm not a lecturer or a member of faculty. I'm actually a student. I study sustainable business management at Conestoga College here in Canada. And one of the courses we have to take is sustainable development as a topic on its own or as a class on its own. And one thing that the lecturer does is introduce us to new tools, sustainable measurement tools that kinds of allows us to see what we're doing in practical terms. So we're allowed to think beyond, excuse me, we're allowed to think beyond what we know and actually see what the effect of our activities are on the environment. And that allows us to, well, personally, it allows me to think of how I can do better and be better aligned. We're still trying to, well, personally, I'm still trying to work on how to fix that into career-wise, but I think as a person, my mindset has further opened not particularly shifted because I've always been like in love with sustainability, and I have a degree in economics. So I've always been aware of that, but it kind of opened and broadened my mindset to see that, oh, there are more things that you can do beyond what you're currently doing now. And I don't know if that helps, but that's what she's been helping with all of these things. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thanks for sharing. Does anyone wants to add any other comments?
Gerard, you're saying you could share some practices. Gerard, would you like to jump in?
I was just, this is not practices on measurement, so that's something I don't think we do at all. But I just, these are some micro level things that I tried in my classes, in my sustainability class. I have students grow food from plants, from food waste, you know, using food scraps. And I have them write about it. And some of them use seeds, some of them just pick up a plant, but they nurture the plant during the semester. And the reactions to that have been really fascinating and interesting, because the experience with growing your own food is extremely rare. And I thought that has had a big difference. The other thing that I started this last couple of semesters, actually the idea came from Christine. When COVID hit and students were feeling disconnected, she asked her students to take a picture of something, and she teaches in New York. So I picked on that idea, and I said, every week, take a picture of something in your neighborhood that reflects sustainability or the lack of it. And so they post a picture every week about something that they see. And I think what that has done is enhance, kind of get them to look around them and see what is happening around them. And I think those things have made a difference. I like I said, there's no measurement. I mean, they do report on this. They do talk about the pictures they grow, or they've taken, or the plants they've grown, but I just get the feeling that it has caused greater engagement, and I just thought I'd share those ideas with you.
Great, thank you. That's excellent, Jared. Thanks. Love the idea too. Does anyone else wants to share any good practices? Yeah.
Can I ask a question? I don't have practices to share because I'm not there yet, but I've been tapped to start 2 new classes, one in human rights law and one in social responsibility for attorneys. I have to put these classes together, and they want me to teach this from a non-legal perspective to future law students. And I was wondering, I'd like to tap the master's brains here on what, if there's a textbook or materials or what I should include. I'm ABD right now at Rutgers. I know Gina. I've been asking this question. You know, this is something brand new that this school wants to put together. It'll be a class with students around the world. This was actually supposed to have started pre-COVID, but due to COVID, they couldn't finish building the building to have the classes, and the administrators couldn't get started because the buildings weren't built and nothing was done. But I still have to put this class together and put a syllabus together and etc. So I'm wondering if anybody has any ideas for me, because I'm a little bit at a loss.
Very quickly, I'm not a lawyer. I have no expertise in this area, but a session yesterday, somebody referred to a book on Earth Law. Earth Law is a book that is available that does precisely, I believe, what you're saying, but I haven't looked at the book myself. It was just alluded to yesterday in a session.
It was me, it's Linda Wendling. Earth Law is going to be taking the rights of nature. So it's taking what we do with corporate law, they have personhood, to apply that, like many countries have done, like Ecuador, Colombia, New Zealand, giving, you know, the river a right just as a citizen, as a subject of law. So it can help, but I don't think it covers the entire scope of what you're thinking of, Maria. there is a group called Social Impact Lawyers. I'm a part of that, but I don't want to take up everybody's time right now. So I'll be happy if you want to connect with me for more information.
You also have 2 other comments on the chat on that. Jordan, you want to add something?
Yeah, I've found if you feel comfortable using Harvard Business Publishing's website, which collects every case study ever pretty much, they have a section on sustainability now, and some of those things included in there maybe feel a little bit dicey as to whether it's sustainability or not, but they also include a lot of, I think, really well done case studies that look at like supply chain and labor relations issues included in the sustainability section. And depending on the level of your students, you might find different degrees of complexity as far as the specifics of the case. But I've used a lot of the case studies in my sustainable business class that relate to labor and also other aspects of sustainability. And students have really responded positively to looking at these instances of these issues in the real world. There's also an excellent publication that's called Case Studies in the Environment. It's published from the University of California Press, that's targeted to undergrads, kind of mid-level and advanced undergrads. And that also has kind of real world case study examples of different aspects of sustainability, including a lot of human rights types of things. For instance, yesterday we talked about one in my class that looked at the rights of farm workers after they've been exposed to pesticides and DDT and things like that, and sort of legal ramifications of that. So I'd recommend looking at those 2 things if you want to go a case study route.
Jordan, can I ask you to put some of those in the chat so we can actually share that?
Yeah, I'll type them right now.
Great, thank you.
I will remind you all that yesterday, or was it Monday, Florence Librisi pointed out about the SDG Academy has a whole bunch of resources, and that's a growing repository of resources. And also the PRME website is going to continue to populate its set of resources under the PRME Champions initiative. So I think there'll be a growing set of freely accessible public resources online as we go forward in the next year or 2.
Yeah, I can add on to that, Dilip. One of the things that we're trying to do with our Center for Responsible Leadership is to have a fairly robust resources page so that people who feel like they don't know where to start in teaching sustainability can at least get started with us, and we can point you to things and resources that we've collected. So that's not a new idea, but it is, something we're hoping to have be out there that's useful for the community.
Great. And
Joel, you were saying.
What Dilip said, the SDG Academy definitely has videos on human rights, Maria.
For sure. Joel, I think you are going to add something. Joel Harmon.
No, I was just going to reinforce what Dilip said about the SDG Academy resource. It's open, free, and phenomenally comprehensive and useful to go to check out things to support a wide variety of kinds of courses and programs.
But my question is what level is that? Is that for undergrads or is that for graduate students?
They have stuff for every level.
It could even be used in high school. High school, undergrad, grad, it's enormous. They have 11,000 videos, something like that. A lot of stuff, MOOCs, everything. We'll post their recording from the SDG Academy as well.
Yeah. Okay. So we have here a question in the chat from James. He says, for some years I have started to teach at undergraduate and postgraduate studies in the need for this sustainability mindset in my students because of the many negatives in communities and campus. The students were very receptive, but the main challenge in sustaining the experience beyond the class. How can this be sustained? Does it mean the experience should go beyond the school?
I would love to say just a real quick thing about that is that I think that anytime when you're creating like assignments and curriculum for students, like finding ways to integrate the sustainability element into a portion of an assignment or a class that is already sort of outward facing. Like a lot of times in in the business schools? Do you have places where students are engaging with local companies, right, or local industries, like things that are related to their communities? So anytime you can find a way where you, I think a lot of faculty members are pretty good at thinking of those types of activities and assignments and ways for their students to integrate the things that they're doing in the classroom with stuff outside. It seems to me like that's a really great place to embed these sustainability ideas, because that helps those students make those connections across not just the classroom to the outside, but then in those other moments where they're already doing that. It's kind of like a small little place, great place to embed it from my perspective.
So there is a whole movement called sustainability as a way of life. There are books in that regard, and that becomes a very holistic and personal discussion. And I think that if you can develop that kind of a relationship with your students, one of a long-term mentor, then there is an opportunity to influence that. You know, accidentally every once in a while you do. I have come across students every now and then who do get it, who you can tell from the way they dress and what they buy and how they live, that they have embraced that, but they're very few and far between. And we all have a lot to learn in that regard anyway.
Great. Well, the chat is keep going, which is good. I'll go back if no one wants to share any other idea. I'll go back to one question that Chelsea asked, and it's about the topic that we didn't talk yet before, which is how do you sell these ideas to the administration? Those are the complicated ones.
Really good question.
So
And
when they are focused on decreasing expenses.
so that's a really good question. I can give you a short story. At Rowan, we have been, again, fighting this battle. It's been challenging for well over a decade. And getting administration and a board of trustees and a president to recognize this, you know, they will always pay lip service. No, don't get me wrong. It's not that they're not interested, but when it comes to allocating resources, it's always an uphill battle. And again, the best way I think to do this, and again, we haven't done it yet, is to triangulate. There are student groups that are interested, and to grow the awareness among students. And if students and faculty and the faculty senate and the faculty union, all the major stakeholders push for it, I think at some point the board of trustees will have to come. I mean, to me, the litmus test is very straightforward. You know, how many universities have committed to becoming carbon neutral by any date? Pick a date. Could be 2050, could be 2060. As far as I know, in New Jersey, only state school that has done it so far is Rutgers, has picked a date of 2050. But again, I don't know personally whether that's backed up by a credible plan. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying, I mean, that's really the big one that's hanging out there. And I've actually talked to people. I mean, Mete has been very responsive, where the UN could initiate a series of webinars aimed precisely at that level, not at the faculty level, but the level of university presidents, chancellors, boards of regents for university systems around the world, so that they actually make a commitment at the highest level. And that's just not been done to the extent I would like to see at all.
If I could just interject, our President Jonathan Holloway is giving the closing remarks at this conference. So he will mention that and we can hold him to it.
Would you like to add, Jen?
I was going to add a more micro focus from what Dilip had mentioned. So if someone is interested in doing it at the program level, because, you know, you have to have the big strategy and that's important, but sometimes you can make changes start to happen at a smaller, more narrowly focused level, especially if you're really committed to it and it's what you want to do. If you can try to find ways to make a market-focused argument, that's a really nice way to start moving forward. So, you know, you can come back and you can have some type of industry-influenced input market scan. Use LinkedIn. Look in your geographic region. Pick 30 or 40 people that you think have the kind of jobs that you would like to see your students in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years out of graduation. Ask those people to set up a 30-minute meeting. You'd be surprised how many of them are going to be really happy to do it, because if they have that kind of job, it's not by accident. They're really passionate about it. They can then give you come up with your questions that you want to ask everyone. You'll probably get at least a quarter of the people willing to speak with you and set some time. And then you can use that information to start saying, this is why we need this in our program. It's something you don't even have to have any money for it. You just have to carve out the time. It's work, it takes time, but then you can start to make a market focused argument. This will actually help us recruit different kind of students. This will help us drive enrollments. This will help us actually make the program stronger. Because if I think of the question that when I read it, it's partly in the face of declining enrollments or the fear of declining enrollment. So make the argument strong that this is going to help you retain enrollments or grow enrollments.
Susana, it's yours to wrap up. We are down to our last minute.
I know. Hard task. My God. Well, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to all our speakers. Thank you for all your questions. I'm amazed with so exciting questions and so much going on this chat. So thank you all for being here with us, for sharing your expertise. Thank you, Gina, and all your team for this amazing event that you have been putting together. I'm having a lot of fun on Zoom, which is great. I'm just going to add on the chat all our emails, contacts, if you want to contact every one of us, if you want to follow us online. So you have here also our information. And thank you again for being here. Thank you all, and be safe.